Hello everybody, thank you for joining us for another story time today. This week's story time is coming to you from a different location, so I'm actually down in Omaha right now, and spring is a little further on down in Omaha than it is in the driftless region of Wisconsin. So Omaha is down south of us in Nebraska, and down here you can already see we have green grass, and the leaves are coming out on the trees, and everything looks so green, it's so exciting. So our story today is going to be about trees. And the book is called The Things That I Love About Trees. And before we get started, I'm going to tell you the things that I love about trees. So the first bestest thing I think about trees is that they make what for us to breathe? Yeah, they actually make the oxygen or the air that we breathe in. So there's a process going on inside of our trees that actually takes carbon dioxide out of the air. So that's actually what we breathe out. And it takes that from the air and it turns it into sugar and oxygen inside of the tree. And the tree uses that sugar to grow bigger, and that serves as a food for the tree. And then it releases the oxygen through the leaves back out into the air. So trees are making the air that we need to breathe. So that is my number one favorite thing about trees. Number two, like I said, they're taking in carbon dioxide from the air. And carbon dioxide is something that we call a greenhouse gas. So our air is getting more and more carbon dioxide in it, and that is helping the planet get a little warmer in some spots and contributing to climate change. So by taking the carbon out of the air, the tree's actually storing some of that carbon in all of its parts. So again, it's helping us fight climate change. So that's my second favorite thing about trees. My third favorite thing about trees, or maybe I shouldn't say my third favorite, they're all my favorite, but the third really cool thing about trees that I love is that they have roots that go way down deep into the ground, and it helps hold the soil in place. And by holding that soil in place, the soil acts as a filter for our water, whether that's from rain or from runoff when we get too much rain. The ground helps filter out that water and keep it clean for us. So that's another really great thing that trees do. Plus, number four, they make tons of food for us, right? Lots of our fruits, like our apples or our oranges, our lemons, our cherries, those things come from trees. They also make maple syrup for us, right? Or they make the sap that we turn into maple syrup, and they make a lot of the nuts that we eat too. So lots of our foods might come from trees. Lots of the things that we use, right? Paper or lumber to build houses come from trees. They provide shade for us. They provide habitats for animals. And they're just really beautiful and nice to look at. In fact, science tells us that the more time we spend around trees, the more it helps our mood and our mental health. It helps us feel more calm and less stressed and happier as people. So trees are amazing, and I love trees. We're going to celebrate trees later this month in April when we have Arbor Day on April 30th. That's a whole day where we just celebrate all the awesome things that trees do for us. And if you want to celebrate too, you could go out and plant a tree. That would be awesome. But until then, we're just going to read a book about how much we love trees. So our story time today is called The Things That I Love About Trees, and it was written by Chris Butterworth and illustrated by Charlotte Volk. All right. Ooh, look at all these different trees in here. It's telling us the different types. So this is a sweet chestnut, a beech, sycamore. So those three are all trees that are typically more south than where we are in Minnesota and Wisconsin. Birch tree, hazel tree, oak tree, we have all those, and a Scots pine. The things that I love about trees. It's spring. And the thing about trees that I love in the spring is that changes begin. There are buds, like beads, getting bigger on the branches. It says trees are plants, big ones, and spring is the time when most plants put out new leaves. So you'll have to look around near you. Are there any trees putting out new leaves where you are? I can see on the tree behind me, it has super tiny leaves right now because they're just coming out and getting started growing for the year. The flower buds on this plum tree are opening into blossoms, which are buzzing with bees. Bees visit the blossoms to collect nectar. Some pollen from each flower brushes onto a visiting bee, which carries it to the next flower. We call that pollination. And other buds are opening into brand new leaves. The trees are waking up. New leaves are usually bright green and still a bit crumpled. When you touch them, they feel soft. Birds and squirrels build nests in the treetops, safely hidden among the new leaves. Can you find any nests from birds or squirrels in trees near your house? Maybe we can find them even on this page. See a little bird on a nest here, a squirrel over here. In the summer, the thing about trees that I love is how big they look. This one is as wide as our building. It's a very big tree. What's the biggest tree you've ever seen? It says trees do most of their growing in spring and early summer. Their roots suck up water from under the earth. In hot weather, a big tree can drink as much as a bathtub every day. That's a lot of water for our trees. Summer trees are shady and so full of leaves that when the wind blows, they swish like the sea. Leaves use sunshine to make food that the tree needs so that it can grow. By summer, leaves are thicker, stronger, and darker green than they were in the spring. The blossoms on the plum tree have all dropped now, but where each flower was, a little green plum is growing. A plum flower can't make its fruit without the pollen that the bee carries. So again, that's that pollination happening that our bees help us with. They help us grow new trees, which is awesome. A new plum needs to swell and ripen for several weeks in the summer sun before it's juicy and good to eat. How many of you have ever picked a piece of fruit right off of a tree and been able to eat it? The thing that I love about trees in the fall is how lots of them change colors. From all shades of yellow to pumpkin orange and fire engine red. In the fall, the days are shorter and cooler, so leaves start to change color and begin to die. What's your favorite color fall leaf? As well as bright leaves, I see tree seeds and ripe fruit, nuts for the squirrels, berries for the mice, and a sweet, sticky plum for a bird. In the middle of each plum is a seed that can grow into a new plum tree. So we might harvest fruits from our trees or seeds or nuts in the fall, like apples. Maybe you visited an apple orchard in the fall. When a storm blows in, the trees rain leaves. Catch one in the air and you can make a wish. Some leaves that look tiny up high on a tree turn out to be big on the ground. Not all trees lose their leaves in the fall. The ones that do are called deciduous trees. Trees that keep their leaves are called evergreen. So here we see an evergreen, where our pine trees are evergreens. In winter, the thing that I love about trees is how bare they are. You can lean on the trunk and look up all the way to the top. When you touch the bark, it feels hard and rough. Tree bark protects a tree from insects and other animals that might eat it, and also from too much heat or cold. Trees that lose their leaves take a rest from growing through the dark, chilly days of winter. And when a storm comes, thrashing the branches, snapping off twigs, and rocking the trunk, the tree's roots hold it safe in the ground while it waits for the warm days of spring, when the trees will begin to wake up all over again. And that's the end of the story, but this book actually has some activities that you can do for trees. So instead of our resources this week, I'm going to read you this list of activities and see if you can try any of them at home. There are lots of games you can play and all kinds of things you can do with trees. Build a hideout from big sticks and fallen branches. How many of you have built in a fort with the trees before? That's always fun. Start a collection of pine cones, leaves, twigs, acorns, or chestnuts. From the ground though, don't take those things off the trees. You can also do a ton of different art projects with all of those things. And if you need ideas, mom or dad, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, whoever you have that's an adult at home could help you look up some ideas on Pinterest because they have tons of nature craft ideas. It says make pictures and shapes with the fallen leaves and sticks. Use a fallen tree as a giant climbing frame. Ooh, that sounds like a fun one. Hide away in an old hollow trunk or under low hanging leaves. So find a good hiding spot in your tree maybe. Turn over old logs and pieces of bark to go on a bug hunt. A magnifying glass might come in handy. Stay very still and very quiet to see the wild creatures that make their homes in trees. So those are all the activities in our books that have to do with trees, but there's so many great things you can do with the trees in your yard, even just going on a tree walk and seeing how many different kinds of trees you can find. If you're familiar with a couple different kinds of trees, like maybe you know a birch tree and an oak tree, maybe just a pine tree, you can play a fun game of tree tag on your walks. So have one person or maybe the adult on the walk call out, birch, and then everybody has to run and touch a different birch tree, or oak, and everybody has to run and touch a different oak tree. So there's fun games like that you can play. You could do some rubbing, so take a blank piece of paper and a crayon and gently rub it over the bark or the leaves to make leaf or bark rubbings. Like it said in the book, there's tons of different art projects you can do, but mostly my favorite thing to do is just to walk around and observe the trees, look close. You might find some of those hollows or holes in the trees that maybe you're not going to hide in, but maybe there's another animal already using it as a home. And get a real up close look at our tree branches during this time of year. There might be little flowers on there, or there might be tiny little leaves coming out for the first time. So get up and close and personal. Take a good look at the trees and all of the animals that are using the trees and all of the wonderful things that trees do for us. We'll see you back here in 2 weeks for another story time. Until then, get out, enjoy spring, and we'll see you later. Bye.